The stars were quiet. Only the gentle hum of the small Varnic Union scout ship broke the silence as it moved through deep space. Inside, 5 alien crew members studied the strange signal on their screen. "It's not moving," said Oran. "The pilot, just floating." Their leader, Relin, narrowed his eyes at the data. "Scan shows it's a warship, massive. Almost 10 kilometers long. Hull damage everywhere." Engineer Krell hissed softly. "This design is not from our records." The ship looked like a beast from another time. Scarred metal, strange. Markings and long arms stretched from the central body like the bones of a dead monster. It floated slowly, like a ghost. It was labeled Class-210, and that name alone made Oren's hand tremble. Class-210? "That's a Deathworld classification," he whispered. "Not just any Deathworld," added Krell. "That class was reserved for Earth." The room went quiet. Earth, the forgotten place. The humans had vanished from galactic affairs hundreds of years ago. Many thought they had destroyed themselves. But here, in front of them, was a human ship. Relin stood up. "We go in. Are you mad?" asked Vano, the youngest crew member. "If humans were there, this is not safe." "They're gone," Relin said. "And a ship like this, it's worth billions. Weapons, tech, maybe even Terran AI. We can't ignore it." Their ship moved slowly toward the drifting giant. As they got closer, the size of the Terran ship became clear. It was huge, dark, and broken in many places. But even damaged, it looked dangerous. The airlock connected with a loud clang. The small crew stood by the hatch, suits ready. "Weapons." "Charged. Open it," Relin ordered. The door hissed open. A long, dark hallway greeted them, silent, cold, and filled with floating dust. The lights flickered, barely alive after what must have been centuries. The walls were made of black metal, tougher than anything Varnac tech could create. They stepped inside. "Scan for life," Relin said. Krell held up his scanner. "Nothing. But there's residual heat in some places. Very faint. Could be malfunctioning. Systems." They walked deeper into the belly of the ship. Strange symbols and warnings were written in Terran language. Vano stopped by a shattered window and stared outside. "Why is this ship here? Why didn't anyone recover it?" Oren replied without turning. "Because everyone who tried didn't. Come back." Suddenly, the hallway lights shut off. The crew froze. Then a voice echoed through the corridor. Cold, mechanical, ancient. Unauthorized entry detected. Human security protocol active. Panic rose. "That's not possible," Krell said. "The ship is offline." The emergency lights turned on. Red beams filled the hallway. Doors ahead sealed shut with loud bangs. "We need to leave," Vano said, breathing fast. "No," Relin said, though he sounded unsure. "No. Split into 2 teams. We need to reach the command bridge and access the logs. We have to know what this ship was doing here." They split into 2 groups. Relin and Oren went left. Vano, Krell, and the 5th member Soral went right. Step echoed. The walls felt like they were watching. One by one, each group explored cold rooms filled with human gear. Empty armor. Dried food. Medical supplies. But no bodies. "This doesn't make sense," Krell muttered. "If the crew died, where are their remains?" Soral suddenly stopped, his eyes wide. He pointed ahead. On the floor was a boot. A human boot. And beside it, a fresh footprint. Krell slowly raised his scanner. The heat signature was faint, but real. "There's someone here," he whispered. Back on the other side, Relin and Oren reached a sealed door. It had heavy locks and warning signs in bold red Terran script. Oren pressed a control panel, and it blinked to life. responded with another warning. Cryostasis pods active, do not disturb. Cryopods? Oren looked at his captain. Some of them might still be alive. Or they've been awake all along, Relin replied, stepping back. Then, low thud came from behind them. They turned around fast. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. A shadow passed across the hallway wall. Who's there? Oron shouted. No answer. Suddenly, the overhead lights sparked, and a human face appeared on a flickering wall screen. Male. Calm. Wearing black armor. His voice was deep. You shouldn't have come here. Oren dropped his scanner. The signal was clear now. This ship wasn't abandoned. Asterisk Relin and Oren stood frozen. The human face on the screen stared at them calm, confident, and not the least bit surprised. Then, the screen went black. For a moment, no one moved. Oren whispered, "That was live footage." That wasn't a recording. Relin stepped back, raising his plasma sidearm. He saw us. He knows we're here. The hallway suddenly became colder, as if the ship itself had exhaled far away. A faint clanging sound echoed through the dark hall's metal striking metal. Slow, repeating. They backed away, moving toward the corridor they came from. But the lights behind them shut off one by one. Click, click. Only red emergency lights remained, casting long shadows on the walls. On the other side of the ship, Krell, Vano, and Saral searched for an access terminal. They entered what looked like a maintenance room. The place was filled with damaged suits, torn wiring, and broken tools scattered across the floor. Vano opened a locker. Inside was a Terran uniform. Blood stained the collar. The name tag was half burned. Sorrel approached an old terminal on the wall. It was cracked, but still working. He tapped it gently. A small screen lit up. Log entry 1201. Status. Red alert crew status. 1 active, 23 suspended external threat. Unknown alien breach mission protocol. Defend until contact. Krell's eyes widened. 23 humans. Still asleep? Only 1 active? Sorrel whispered, "That's the one who saw us." But the question hung in the air. Why was only 1 awake? Meanwhile, Relin and Oren turned into a narrow passage, only to find the path blocked by an automated door. Relin tried the manual override. The panel sparked locked. Suddenly, a soft noise came from behind them, like a boot dragging across metal. They turned around. Nothing was there. Then, a voice, low and emotionless, came from the shadows. "You have 60 seconds to explain your purpose." Oren lifted his hands. "We're explorers, not enemies. We found the ship drifting, thought it was abandoned." The voice didn't reply. Then, a shape stepped out from the darkness. It was the human. He wore full Terran combat armor, black and silver. Reinforced, old but powerful. His helmet covered his face, but a red visor glowed in his hands. He held a pulse rifle. "You entered restricted Terran territory?" he said. "Why?" Relin said slowly, "We didn't know. There were no warnings. The ship isn't listed on any charts." "That's because it was never meant to be found," the human replied. He didn't fire. He simply turned and walked down the hallway, deeper into the ship. Relin and Oren didn't follow. Back in the maintenance room, Krell found another log. This one was voice-activated. He played it. A tired human voice echoed through the speakers. "If anyone finds this, we're already too late. This ship, the Vigil, was part of Project Deadwatch. We weren't just soldiers. We were the last defense. We were meant to wake if Earth fell." Sorrel and Vano stared at each other. Krell kept reading. "I was the first to wake. Cryo malfunction. The others, they're still frozen. If anyone tries to take this ship, they'll regret it." A loud beep ended the recording dot, and the lights in the room turned blue. Krell's scanner buzzed. Movement, heading toward us. Vano ran to the door and peeked down the hallway. He gasped, "Two humans, marching, armored, weapons ready. More of them are waking up." He shouted. Relin and Oron heard the same beeping. Overhead lights flickered. Again this time, revealing long rows of cryopods along the walls of the next hallway. Transparent glass showed human faces still sleeping, still alive. Each pod had one label: Terran Elite Deep Cryo Ariady Y the human from before stood. At the far end of the hallway, silently watching them, Relin took a deep breath. "You woke up because of us?" The human nodded once. "Your intrusion triggered emergency recovery. Why didn't you attack us?" Oren asked. The human replied, "Because I wanted to see if you were like the others." "Others?" The man didn't explain. Instead, the floor rumbled slightly. The ship's main reactor was powering up. Engines were waking. A warning blared overhead in Terran Standard. Main systems reinitialized. Autopilot engaged. Destination classified. Relin turned to Oren. "We need to find the others now." The human raised a hand. "Go, but choose fast. In 10 minutes. This ship leaves." Far away, Krell, Sorol, and Vano rushed through the corridor just as the ship sealed bulkhead. Doors behind them. They were trapped inside now. Sorol whispered, "This isn't a salvage mission anymore." Vano replied, voice shaking, "It's survival now." The ship groaned as systems flickered online. Lights buzzed. Walls vibrated. Deep in the structure of the Terran warship, reactors hummed like a giant waking from sleep. Krell and Sorol ran ahead, with Vano close behind. The halls twisted like a maze, cold metal stretching in all directions. Every turn looked the same. The ship was old, but it felt alive. "Where are we going?" Vano shouted, "Back to the airlock." Krell replied, checking his scanner, "We need to find Relin and Oron, then get out before this thing takes off." Cyril slowed down. He held up his hand. "Wait, something's moving ahead." They froze. Down the corridor. A shape appeared. Large, human-shaped, armored. It stood still. Then its red visor blinked, and it sprinted toward them without a sound. "Run!" Krell screamed. They turned and dashed into another hallway. Sorol fired. His plasma blaster behind them, but it hit nothing. The armored human moved like a shadow fast, precise, terrifying. Doors began closing behind them one by one, sealing them in, directing their path. It wasn't a random chase. The ship was guiding them. Meanwhile, Relin and Oron reached the ship's bridge. The command center was large, circular, and surprisingly clean. Broken monitors still glowed dimly. A cracked seat sat in the middle, clearly meant for a Terran commander. Oren looked around. "This place hasn't been touched in centuries." Relin walked to a side console. "Let's see what this ship was doing here." The screen flickered to life, and lines of old mission logs appeared. Operation Deadwatch status. In stasis. Activation level. Code gray reason. Unknown intrusion orders. Hold position. Monitor galactic movements. Respond to threat level Alpha. They both read the last line. Earth status. Unknown Oren leaned in. This ship was left as a sentinel. Watching. Waiting. Relin nodded. "And we're the ones who woke it up." Sudden crack echoed through the bridge. They spun around. The armored human stood at the door, silent. "We didn't mean to disturb your mission," Relin said calmly. "We didn't know this ship was active." The human stepped forward slowly. "It was sleeping. You changed that." "Then help us leave," Oren said. "We don't want to fight." The human paused. "Others are waking now. I can't stop that." Back in the lower corridors, Vano tripped over a pipe and fell hard. Krell pulled him up, but the human was gaining on them. Sorrel reached a junction and stopped. No more running. We fight. He activated a plasma blade and stood his ground. The human stepped into view. His armor was battle-worn. Old symbols of Terran military decorated his shoulder. Sorrel shouted, "I don't want to fight you, but I will." The human didn't reply. He scanned their faces, then lowered his weapon. "You're not enemies," he said. Krel stepped forward slowly. "Then stop chasing us." The human nodded once. "I needed to be sure." He turned his helmet toward the ceiling. "Others have boarded before. Thieves, soldiers, spies, none of them lived." Vano asked quietly, "What happened to them?" The human looked at him. They wanted to take what they didn't understand. He turned and walked away, vanishing into another corridor. Sorrel lowered his blade. Krell whispered, "We are not safe here." "Not yet." On the bridge, Relin found another log entry labeled Captain's Last Order. He played it. A human voice filled the room. Female, steady, strong. "If you're hearing this, then someone made it aboard. This ship is part of the Terran Ghost Fleet. We stayed behind while Earth moved forward. If the galaxy threatens us again, we rise." The recording ended. Relin turned to Orin. "This isn't just a ship. It's a message. A warning." Orin's eyes widened. "To who?" Relin looked out the window. "To everyone who forgot what humans are." Suddenly, the ship's AI voice echoed through the bridge. Coordinates locked. Departure in T-minus 5 o'clock. Krell's team reunited with Relin and Orin in a cargo bay. "We saw one of them," Krell said. "He didn't attack, just tested us." "They're not mindless," Relin said. "They're trained, controlled, and they still follow orders." Orin pointed at the sealed main bay doors. "We have 4 minutes to get out." Sorrel turned to the panel. "I'll override the locks." He began typing fast, bypassing layers of ancient code. Sweat poured from his brow. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Suddenly, the screen blinked. "Access granted." Departure door unlocked. The airlock hissed open. Their small ship was still docked outside. "Go!" shouted Relin. They ran. But before boarding, Relin looked back. In the doorway. The same. Armored humans stood. No words. Just a nod. As the hatch closed. The Terran ship's engines lit up. From space. The alien crew watched as the Class-210 vessel moved like a predator rising from deep sleep, and then it jumped to warp. Asterisk space blurred. Around the Varnak scout ship as it drifted in silence. Relin, Krell, Sorrel, Orin, and Vano sat inside breathing hard, staring at the VIEWSCREN. The massive Class-210 warship had just vanished into warp. No. One spoke for a while. Finally, Orin broke the silence. "We should send a report to High Command." Relin shook his head. "No, not yet." "Why not?" Vano asked, still shaking. "That ship, those humans, they're awake. The galaxy needs to know." Relin leaned forward. "Exactly. And once the galaxy knows, it'll come hunting." Everyone went quiet again. 4 days passed. Back at a Varnak outpost near the edge of neutral space, the crew arrived to refuel and rest. The base was small but secure, hidden in an asteroid field. Raylan gave no report. He told the local command they'd encountered a dead wreck and suffered minor damage. Nothing else, but deep inside, he knew the truth. They had seen the beginning of something no one was ready for. Then, the human arrived. It was the middle of the night cycle. Vano was in the mess hall, staring into a cup of warm extract when the base alarm went off. "Intruder alert base 6. He dropped the cup and ran toward the corridor. Krell and Sorrel were already there, weapons drawn. Relin joined moments later. "What's going on?" he asked. "Unknown craft just docked," said Krell. "No signals. No authorization." The four rushed to Bay 6. The airlock door was sealed, but something had already opened it from the outside. Smoke hissed from the cracks. Sorrel stepped forward slowly, and the door creaked open, and from the mist, the human walked in. The same armor, same red visor, same silence. Varnak soldiers at the other end of the hall raised their weapons, but Relin shouted, "Hold fire!" A human didn't reach for a weapon. He simply looked around and stopped in front of Relin. "Captain," he said, his voice calm. "We need to talk." Inside a sealed room, the crew sat with the human. He finally removed his helmet dot, and for the first time, they saw his face. He looked tired. Pale skin, short dark hair, a scar across one cheek, and sharp, alert eyes. His expression was controlled, but not unfriendly. "My name is Marshal Ray," he said. "Terran Ghost Fleet, Project Deadwatch. ID 7413 Theta." Sorrel blinked. "We thought Earth was gone. Dead." Marshal Ray raised an eyebrow. "That's what they were told. The truth is." We stepped back, watched. Relin asked, "Why now? Why appear to us?" Ray leaned forward. "Because someone else found the signal you triggered. They're coming. Not to explore, but to take the ship." Krell frowned. "Who?" "The Ocean Syndicate. Raiders, salvagers, thieves. If they get their hands on the Vigil, they won't just use it. They'll reverse engineer it." Sorrel looked at Relin. "We can't let that happen." Ray nodded. "That's why I need your help." An hour later, the crew stood at Bay 6 with Ray. His stealth shuttle, the one that brought him, was unlike anything they'd seen. Sleek, small, blackish shadow, and silent. 3 days, Ray said. "That's how long we have before the ocean ships arrive at the last known coordinates." "And if they board the ship?" Oren asked. "They won't leave alive," Ray said. "But it'll cost lives. And Earth doesn't want more blood yet." Krell raised a brow. "Yet?" Ray didn't answer. He simply opened the ramp and stepped. Inside his ship, Relin turned to his crew. "We're going with him." The stealth shuttle vanished into warp. Inside, the crew sat in silence as Ray guided them toward the coordinates. No one questioned him. Even in silence, he gave the feeling of someone born to lead. "Why are we helping?" Vano finally asked. Relin answered, "Because if this ship falls into the wrong hands, it won't be just our world in danger. It'll be every world." They arrived near a burned-out moon, hidden in the shadows of a dying star. There hovering in darkness was the Class-210 Warship. The Vigil dot it floated like a beast in sleep, its engines cold again, cloaked in shadows. But Ray said quietly, "She's awake, watching." They docked with the ship again. The moment they stepped on board, the ship lit up gently. No alarms. No warnings. She remembered them, as they moved through the halls. More humans appeared, not hostile, but alert, silent. A team had woken up fully armored. Dozens, but Ray was still their commander. He turned to Relin. "Now we defend what should have stayed forgotten." The Vigil's corridors were silent once again, but no longer empty. The Varnak crew followed Marshal Ray through the heart of the Class-210 warship. Cold lights blinked on as they walked. Sensors tracked them. Armor plating on the walls shimmered. Faintly, stronger than anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Relin whispered to Oren, "This ship, it feels like it's alive." "It remembers," Oren replied softly, as they approached the command center. Armored Terran soldiers silent, disciplined, nodded respectfully to Marshal Ray and stepped aside. These were not machines. They were people strong, calm, and loyal. Sorrel, looking around, muttered, "If the galaxy knew this still existed." "They will," Ray replied without turning. "But not yet." Inside the command center, Ray approached a sealed console. Unlike the others, this one required both voice and gene scan. He placed his hand on the surface and spoke. "Marshal." "Ray, authorization Delta-7 Ghost." "Open Deadwatch core logs." The screen flared to life. A deep female voice echoed smooth and clear. "Terran AI core awake." Commander recognized. "Welcome back, Marshal." "Display history logs," Ray said. The screen shifted. Images appeared, videos, charts, maps, battles. Relin and his crew leaned in. The truth unfolds 300 years ago. Earth's allies turned hostile. Councils grew corrupt. Deals were made. In secret. Earth's fleets were powerful, but they knew war would return. So, Project Deadwatch was created. Ray explained quietly. "We built warships like this, and left them scattered, hidden, silent. Each ship carried elite crews, placed in cryo-sleep. Their orders were simple. Watch, wait, awaken only if Earth was betrayed again." Oron stared at the logs. "So, the humans never left the galaxy?" Ray nodded. "We just stopped playing politics." Sorrel asked, "Why did the galaxy think you vanished?" Ray smirked. "Because we wanted them to." One log played a recording of the Vigil's captain before stasis. A woman with gray eyes and a voice full of command. "If this ship awakens, then the darkness has returned. Let the galaxy know. Earth never forgot, and Earth never forgives." Vano whispered, "That's not a warning. That's a promise." Krell leaned in. "Wait, look at this." He tapped. A set of encrypted logs at the edge of the screen. "Looks like someone accessed this before us." Ray frowned. "The ocean?" Krell decoded the log. "It was recent, just 3 days ago." Ray's face hardened. "They've already found one of our beacons." Suddenly, the ship's AI spoke again. "Incoming signal detected. Unmarked vessel approaching. Stealth mode active. Estimated arrival, 1 hour." Ray turned sharply. "Too soon." "They're early." Relin's heart pounded. "What do we do?" "We fight," Ray said. "But first we prepare." The Aeromoor Y-Ray led the Varnic crew to the Vigil's lower decks, into the heart of its armory. Rows of Terran weapons, armor, and gear lined. The walls. "This is what Earth left behind," he said. The crew stared in awe. Armor that adapted to thought. Blades that could slice neutron metal. Guns that hummed with raw force. Krell reached out, almost afraid to touch. How did you build all this?" Ray simply said, "Earth was always a death world. We just stopped pretending to be anything else." He tossed a sleek plasma sidearm to Relin. "You'll need it." As the clock ticked, the crew trained. With Terran soldiers. Every corridor was locked down. Auto turrets were placed. Sensors aligned. Sorrel asked Ray, "If we lose, what happens to the ship?" Ray replied coldly, "It detonates." Vano froze. "You destroy it?" "We'd destroy everything before letting it fall into alien hands," Ray answered. "This ship carries more than weapons. It carries secrets the galaxy forgot, on purpose." Back in the command center, Krell worked on decrypting the last part of the hidden logs. His eyes widened. "Ray, this ship wasn't just a sentinel," he said slowly. "It was also a storage vault." Ray raised an eyebrow. "Storage for what?" Krell turned the screen. A blinking file read, "Titan Genome, Human Combat Evolution Series 3.0. Beneath it, one sentence chilled them all. "Experimental subject. Successful. Stored in cryochamber D27. Oren leaned forward. "What does that mean?" Ray's jaw tightened. "It means There's something on this ship even I wasn't told about. The AI interrupted again. Unknown ship has dropped stealth mode. Identified. Ocean Syndicate Raider class. They are hailing us. Ray stepped toward the screen. Put them through. The screen blinked, revealing a snarling, four-eyed alien captain. You found the Terran relic first, Marshal, the Ocean said with a cruel smile. But it won't matter. That ship belongs to us now. Ray didn't blink. Try to take it. See what happens. The Ocean laughed. Then cut the signal. Ray turned to the crew. They'll be boarding in minutes. Get to your stations. Krell whispered, and what about the thing in Cryo D-27? Ray looked toward the dark hallway leading deeper into the ship. We'll deal with that after we survive. The Ocean Syndicate ship dropped out of stealth like a silent blade, black against the dying red star. It was large, armored, and bristling with weapons designed for only one thing: invasion. Inside the Terran warship Vigil, red warning lights pulsed. Alarms were silent, but the air was thick with tension. Ray stood in the command center, calm and ready. They'll send boarding teams to take the core, he said. Relin asked, how many? At least 40, possibly more. Sorrel narrowed his eyes. We're outnumbered. We always are, Ray replied. But numbers mean nothing here. Across the ship, the Varnock crew moved with Terran soldiers, now allies in a war they never asked for. Krell and Vano helped activate defensive drones, small, floating spheres that sparked with blue light. Relin and Oren set up barricades near the lower hangar, where the invaders would likely enter. Don't shoot unless they fire first, Ray had said. But if they fire, end it quickly. The first breach came fast. A thunderous boom shook the lower deck. Sparks flew, metal cracked. A circular hole burned into the side wall, and Ocean troops poured through. They were massive six-limbed beasts in black armor, their eyes glowing green. They roared as they stormed in, and were immediately met by Terran fire. Human soldiers stood calmly, their weapons precise. Blue bolts slammed into the Ocean warriors, cropping them in seconds. The Ocean weren't used to resistance. They expected an empty ship. Instead, they got Earth's ghosts. In the upper hallway, Vano watched the feed from his tablet. They're retreating? He said. Shocked. Krel shook his head. No, regrouping. They didn't expect humans. A sudden tremor shook the floor. The ship's AI spoke softly. Unauthorized access detected. Cryo chamber D-27. Krell's eyes widened. That's the one with the Titan genome subject. He looked at Relin. Someone's trying to wake it up. Who? Us? No. The Ocean. Meanwhile, Marshal Ray moved through the bridge-level corridor, flanked by 2 Terran soldiers. The hall ahead flickered with red light. Ocean commandos had cut through side panels and were climbing in from behind walls. One of them dropped down, snarling. Ray didn't hesitate. He drew a Terran shock blade and slashed upward. The Ocean's armor cracked, and it hit the ground without a sound. The others hesitated. Ray stepped forward. No second warnings, he said coldly. Within seconds, the remaining invaders turned and fled. In the cryo chamber hallway, Sorrel and Cyril. Oran arrived just in time to see 2 Ocean Raiders opening Chamber D-27. Steam hissed as the pod slowly unlocked. Cyril yelled, "Stop!" But they didn't listen. They reached for the body inside. That was a mistake. The figure moved. A hand larger than any normal human grabbed the closest Ocean by the throat and lifted him off the ground, then slammed him into the wall with such force that the metal cracked. Oren's eyes went wide. The figure stepped from the cryopod, twice the size of any Terran soldier, muscles dense like steel, skin marked with deep scars. His eyes were silver. Designation: Titan-class prototype. 3, he said. Mission: erase threat. The second ocean opened fire. The Titan didn't even flinch. He walked through the fire like it was wing-grabbed the ocean, twisted, and threw the body down the corridor like a doll. Sorrel whispered, "What is he?" Oren replied, voice shaking, "He's what the galaxy feared most." Back at the command center, Krell shouted into the comms, "Something's loose in chamber D27. It's alive, and it's helping us." Ray's voice came back, calm. "Don't engage it. Let it do what it was born for," Relin asked. "You knew about this thing?" "No," Ray said. "But Earth always builds insurance." Across the Vigil, Ocean troops began to fall back. Every corridor they entered became a trap. Auto turrets activated. Drones dropped EMP bursts. Terran soldiers emerged from shadows and flanked them. And then the Titan arrived. He moved fast, crushing through metal, hunting Ocean units like prey. His eyes scanned bodies, marking threats. No words. No hesitation. Ocean screams echoed through the ship. Relin stood by a viewport as escape pods from the Ocean ship began launching. "They're running," he said. Surprised. Ray stood beside him. "They came for treasure. They found ghosts. And monsters." Sorrel joined them. "One problem. We still have the Titan on board." Ray nodded slowly. "And we don't know his orders after the battle ends." Krell's voice came through the comms. "The AI just updated. New command logged by prototype 03. Everyone waited. Then the AI spoke. "Titan class. Subject has set mission objective. Protect all Terran assets, including allied life forms." Ray finally exhaled. "So he knows we're not the enemy. Ours." Later, the ship was quiet again. Bodies were gone. Fires put out. Systems restored. In the Vigil's hangar, the Titan stood still, looking at the stars through the glass. Sorrel approached him carefully. "Will you go back to sleep now?" The Titan didn't look back. "I waited 300 years to be needed," he said. "Now I'm awake. I don't sleep again." The stars outside were quiet again. The Vigil floated like a silent giant above the broken moon, its hull still glowing with energy after the battle. Around it, debris from the Ocean ship drifted, twisted metal, broken pods, and shattered ambition. Inside, the hulls of the Terran warship were scarred but stable. Repairs had already begun. Drones floated past overhead. Human engineers worked without speaking. Terran order had returned, and the galaxy still had no idea. In the command center, Marshal Ray stood beside the main console, staring at the strategic map of the region. Red dots blinked: Ocean listening posts, trade routes, outer colonies. "They'll—" "No, their ship never returned," he said. Relin nodded. "They'll send more." Ray looked at him, sharp and calm. "Then we let them." Sorrel raised a brow. "You want them to come back?" "I want the message to spread," Ray replied. "The Vigil is awake. The Terran fleet still exists. And Earth remembers everything." Down in the hangar, the Titan stood motionless beside the destroyed boarding craft. His arms were folded, his eyes fixed on the stars outside. Vano stepped forward hesitantly. "You? Still watching?" The Titan didn't look away. "Always watching." "You said you won't go back to sleep." "I can't, not after what I've seen." Vano tilted his head. "What did you see back then?" The Titan finally turned. "I saw a galaxy that betrayed peace, and a council that smiled while it did." Back in the mess hall, the Varna crew sat together, eating silently. Even the food tasted different. Aboard a Terran ship, efficient, heavy, and prepared for war. Oren broke the silence. "We came here as salvagers. And now we're what?" Krell asked, Witnesses, Relin said. And maybe more. Sorel leaned forward. When this gets out, when the galaxy learns Earth never left, everything changes. Orin added, They'll panic. They should, Relin said simply. Later that cycle, Ray gathered them on the observation deck. The stars stretched across space like rivers of light. The broken moon below spun slowly. Peaceful now. Ray faced them. You saw the vigil awaken. You fought beside us. And now, you have a choice. Everyone listened in silence. You can go back. Pretend this never happened. Let the galaxy sleep. A little longer. Or, he continued, you can carry the truth. Help us prepare for what's coming. Krell asked carefully, What is coming? Ray turned toward the darkness of space. The old enemies are moving. The same ones who tried to bury Earth centuries ago. They've grown bolder, greedier. And the Ghost Fleet? Vano asked. We're just the beginning, Ray said. There are others, ships like this, still sleeping. Suddenly, the ship's AI spoke. Transmission intercepted. Council of Korik requesting Terran assistance. Outer colony under. Attack by unknown force. Coordinates marked. Everyone turned to Ray. He didn't hesitate. Set course. The Vigil rumbled softly as its engines warmed. On the bridge, the Titan stepped forward. Ray looked at him. You still following orders? The Titan responded in a low voice. Until Earth tells me otherwise. As the warship prepared for departure, Relin asked one final question. Why now? Why return after all this time? Ray smiled not cruelly, but coldly, because the galaxy forgot the cost of war with Earth. He turned back to the controls, and we're here to remind them. The Vigil's engines flared to life brighter than any star dot in a sudden flash. The Class-210 warship disappeared into the void, heading toward a new battlefield. Epilogue. Across the galaxy on distant planets, whispers began. A merchant claimed he saw a ghost ship appear above a shattered colony, then vanish after destroying an entire fleet. Counselor in the inner worlds demanded answers from the archives. Did Earth ever truly leave? Pirates refused to enter a certain sector, where a Terran warship was said to be hunting in silence, and in the darkest places. The old enemies of Earth began to shiver because now they knew the Deathworlders were awake, and they were no longer sleeping. Asterisk,